I believe we're going to see a lot of real-life data on hepatitis C. In last meetings, last years, we saw a lot of the studies from the companies, and this year we will see mostly data from large registries from different countries. It's a very vast really meeting, and they're really covering pretty much everything, and it's a little bit difficult every morning to decide which session you want to attend. I think it probably depends on where you're working. Each one of us has a subspecialty, and I think that's the way to really, but I think people should really, and this is also for other next years, because I think this is going to be in the coming years a very busy meeting, and they need ahead of time kind of get an idea and make their own schedule and their own itinerary of in the meeting. The guidelines are issued in these meetings, studies arise in these meetings, collaborations, international collaborations arise in these meetings. In this particular meeting, I think there's a lot about presenting new data and innovative data, but there's a lot also on teaching, a lot of teaching, and there's, I think, a very interesting part that I don't think is discussed as much in ASLD, and that relates to public health and public implications from the EU, and also regarding poor countries. So I think that's a very interesting aspect of this meeting that, for instance, I don't think is covered as much by ASLD. I think at a clinical level, the type of hepatologists who come here, I think there are different types. There are people who just come to listen the latest new and mostly to collaborate, to keep on doing their studies and collaborating. So I think these people probably won't have much change in their clinic based on what they learn here at this meeting. But I think the vast majority, when they come here, they listen to the most recent news, but mostly they kind of learn because there are a lot of sessions, as I mentioned before, which are kind of teaching sessions, which is just a review of what we know up until now. So all these very good reviews that we see in these sessions here, I think they're very good. They may not change a lot of things you do in hepatology, but they may remind you perhaps this little thing that you were not aware of, or you had forgotten to do. So I think it does make a change. I think this is perhaps too much for a general kind of physician, because really the students that I teach, they're more like starting to become doctors, and I think this is too specialized for them, and it's just too big, and it will be just too much for them. So I think this is more for perhaps hepatologists, but probably also other specialties that may have some type of interaction with some of the liver diseases. Liver surgeons might be interested in some of the things that are reviewed in this meeting. Infectious disease doctors probably can have a lot of interest in this meeting, and as I say, I think there can be some interaction with other specialties, but for the young people, students, I think it's too much. As you mentioned initially, this is a very large meeting, and if you really have time, you can find this perhaps rare disease where you have not really heard about for many years, and then you go and then you learn things. So it's also, I think it's also helpful even for people who were doing hepatology for many years to learn some aspects of hepatology. But mostly I think this meeting is very good to make contacts and to start collaboration, maintain collaborations, and I think this is very, very important. Well, I think one take-home message is going to be is that hepatitis C can definitely be eradicated. I think the second message is that we need, and this is the public health issue, I think there is a need for political involvement, from really a will from the governments, and see what the strategies that can be developed to obtain also these aims, not only in Europe and United States, but also in poor countries. I think this is one of the main things here. And second, I think big message is going to be related to NASH. And I think we are going all to leave from here with the idea that NASH has substantial negative consequences, but that at least finally we have many companies evaluating new drugs, and we're just at the beginning. So I think it's a hope for this other disease.